All right, thank you. Hi there, friends. That's my young friend. He's leaving. Thank you for coming to my website for this YouTube live. We're going to have a good time today because I have friends of mine listening in. Don't mind if I brush my mustache. I didn't shave my hair on the other side here. You old people have a problem with hair growing out your neck. Thank you. And I dedicate this to the senior citizens that need to uh, get up off that couch and do something gracious. I'm going to be quoting from a book. And every time I come on live, you know I have a book one. Here's a great little book. Uh, this book is about understanding sex addiction in gay men. We're going to talk about that today. And I have never been addicted to anything but the Word of God. When I was married and a young man and we were making babies, I didn't feel addicted too much to be with women. I knew what making those babies were all about. Making those babies was about establishing a life and establishing who you are. I'm giving you um, free free will to ask me any question that you want while I talk to you. As a matter of fact, this Friday will be your day. Um, I oh well, I got this book and I got other books that I'd like to share with you. Let me start off this by saying when I first came in the company of knowing who God is for myself, I was 23. And I didn't go to church to find God. I went to church to get a clarification on what God was saying to me. I know this may sound strange to some of you because you've been baptized, spit upon, and immersed, and all that stuff, and you listen to these people, and the next thing you know, you can find yourself a little confused about what's going on in your life. I've never been confused about my spirituality. Somewhere on my website, I have to put it in order. Uh, when I first put that contraption together, I have at least two shows talking about my conversion experience. And I feel like that picture behind me on the wall, that is a picture of Daniel in the lion's den. You remember when who was it, Belshazzar, threw him in that pit of lions? And Daniel didn't say, "Get me out of here, stop this, how am I going to get out of here?" You know why he stood there? And you know why he didn't have any fear of those lions tearing into him? Because he knew that he was doing God's will and he did not listen to another person. What do I have on my website? I have there, listen, my website is up there for such a time as this that we live in. You have to give an answer for the hope that lies within you, not from other people that have had your experience, but, well, you know what I'm trying to say. You have to validate it. Now, I want to speak with the younger Christians that are watching me because I cannot get enough. Where's my Jamaican? Oh, my goodness. Cerritos, this is some good pineapple juice. Mm. I know I'm rude and I'm obnoxious, but I'm 79 and I don't have time to try to feather your nest. I'm enjoying myself immensely. I have my um, Juneteenth flags flying, one in the front yard on the flagpole and one in the backyard that I just had the young man that was in here put up for me because I can't get up on ladders and do that stuff anymore. I'm taking care of myself. But look, I see a couple of people have tuned in, and maybe somebody will watch this after the fact. What questions do you have? I have with me my text, cruise control, and I have my other text, the main text, this thing right here. Now a lot of you young people have gone into fancified religions, religions where you're trying to, oh, the white man used that to colonize us. No, man, didn't no white man write this book. There ain't a white man alive that wrote this book. There ain't a black man alive that could write this book. And I'm talking about all 66 put in one. Here's an inevitable question. Do I believe everything in this book? No. Because I believe that there has been some funny business going on about this book. Somebody has changed its original meaning. I have studied for years and found out that many of the statements in this book are taken from other esoteric texts, and you must read about that. Now, again, and remember, you can ask me any question you want at any time during this hour thing. I have a dear friend of mine on, and he's already chided in, and I asked him to ask me any question he'd like. But while we're doing that, what I'm going to do is share with you what I like to call what has poisoned many people's mind today. I have books, 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 because I still read the ultimate encyclopedia of mythology. Oh, yes. Most of the things that we believe are myths. And you know what a myth is? A story put together in order to keep you in a particular humdrum state. Now, let me start off with one. The mythology that if you're a Christian, you can do what Jesus did. That's a myth. And I've asked this question. Wait a minute. Let me see. It says the myths and legends of the ancient worlds from Greece, Rome, and Egypt to the Norse and the Celtic lands through Persia and India to China and the Far East. This is a comprehensive A to Z of the classic stories of gods, small g, S at the end, and goddesses, heroes, and mythical beasts, wizards, and warriors. I remember when the DVD set came out. What was the one about when those midget boys? And I like that series. As a matter of fact, I bought the whole DVD series, and I watch them at least once a year. I try to watch. What is the name of this thing? Where they had this kid. He was supposed to go on the top of a mountain and follow the mean demon and put him out of business. What was the name of those movies? It came about every year they'd make a new movie, and they'd show these movies. And I remember because I was pastoring a church, and the Christian community was saying, don't let your children see these movies. That's what made me buy it. Once you tell me something you don't want me to do, that I'm going to do, because I'm the kind of person that wants to do the investigation for myself. Not only do I do the investigation for myself, but I search it through. Now, okay, I think I got my first comment in from my friend here, and I'm going to read it to you, people, and so I can get an understanding. No believing Christians believe that we can do the things that Jesus did. Yes, they are. You have believing Christians around here in these churches laying hands on people, thinking that they can cast out demons. Matter of fact, some of them are foolish enough. Thank you. Yes, the hoblets, that's who they are. And then you got a group of Christians. I just watched the movie called I Still Believe. It was a movie on that modern day Christian singer, Steve Camp. I think is Kemp is his last name. And I just watched the movie yesterday. I was taking a nap and I said, well, I got to watch something. So I found it and I looked at the movie, and his wife had contracted third or fourth stage cancer. And I know that there's no cure of that. And I recall in the movie, and it tickled me because he was doing a concert and he mentioned to all the people in the stadium that his fiance had stage 4 cancer, and we're going to all pray for her healing. And I laughed when I was watching the movie. I said, this woman is going to die, because if this woman survived stage 4 cancer and she went through all the things, and at the end of the movie, she died. They had told everybody that she's alive. You see what the power of Jesus can do? Let me tell you something. If Jesus gives me stage 4 cancer, I'm going to die. I am not going to survive it. You might as well pick the plot, get the room ready for the people to meet, bring the fried chicken and the biscuits and the beans, because I'm going to die. Man that is born of a woman, the Bible says, is of a few days and full of trouble. Why you want to live? See, that's one reason why I stopped preaching and going to church. I told them that so many times. Every time I do a funeral, let me share something with you. Let me share something. Wait a minute. We got X coming in, and I know who this X is. It says right here, hello. Oh, he's talking to somebody else. Yeah, he and Melvin are talking. So you guys talk with each other. But you see, if you live with a woman, you are going to die. You don't know when you're going to die. You do not know the date that you're going to die. This is what I tell people. Matter of fact, I had a young man call me. I think he's about 33, 34 years old. And he was crying because he was looking at the news and seeing what's going to happen to this nation when everything falls apart. Because it's going to fall apart. The economy is going to fall apart. Democracy is going to fall apart. You guys see what's going on all over the world? You got in a black African country 2 generals killing their own population and won't stop. That proves the doctrine of total depravity. Men are totally depraved. I will never not believe that. I learned about total depravity when I started going to Talbot Theological Seminary, which is located on the campus of Biola University in La Mirada, California, here in Los Angeles. That's where I learned about total depravity. I was a Christian and had never heard of the term. And so I asked myself upon hearing that, am I totally depraved? Me? What does total depravity mean? If you have, and any of you guys that are listening in, you can chime in and tell the people, you go to your books. Wait a minute, do I have it? I thought I had a book. You know, I've given most of my library away. Okay. Total depravity. I'm looking for, it was a book, Xerix, that I had in my study, a little yellow book that I told you guys, and it always, let's see, yeah, okay. Well, anyhow, total depravity is that men that are born of a woman can never redeem themselves from the pit of depravity that they live in. And every human in every nation has proven that a fact. I just heard that in Europe, a kid went into the classroom, and I did give the book to Taman. Thank you. I sure did, because he asked for it. It had the ready references for all those things. But this kid in Europe went into his classroom and shot up other kids, and the parents, I watched it on the news this morning, were saying, how could this happen in our country? What is going on? Because it knocked the Bible out of everything. Read the Bible. We're all totally depraved. And I'm not hollering at you because I'm angry at you. I'm hollering at you because you're asking, asinine, stupid questions about things that are happening. Those of you that think that it feels great, it's so sweet, we're gonna really, really get back on our feet. Everything's coming up roses. Our economy's gonna crash. God help the president, whoever become that. I think they ought to elect a 40-year-old man or woman and put him in the White House or her in the White House and see what she can do. And if you think Biden or Trump is in there making these decisions by yourself, you are quite crazy. All right, talking about mythology, thinking that the Democrats are over the Republicans and vice versa. You're all messed up. I'm not going to mention anybody but Biden and Trump. I'm not going to mention anybody else running. Oh, have you heard what's happening with the Chief Justice, the black man? Oh, my goodness. Had a billionaire friend of his pay one of his nephews a full college scholarship and didn't even file it. Wait a minute. Another group of Democrats are trying to say, how could that man have his mother staying in the house that the government provide for him? I'd let my mama stay with me too. You crazy? If I was a Chief Justice, out of your mind. Total depravity. The Calvinist doctrine that human nature is thoroughly corrupt and sinful as a result of the fall. Thank you. That is the correct definition. Now, you got to deal with what the fall is. What did Melvin mean by this fall? You see, because if you don't know that men has fallen, all of them are fallen. I don't know about all the other religions. I showed you this before, and I'm going to show you again. Where's that book? Oh, here it is. This is the book that I taught world religions in college. And you know what? No other religion or faith but Christianity deals with total depravity, that if you truly love God, that it defeats total depravity in your life. That's why if a person says to me, John, you need to be saved. I said, saved from what? Have I done anything that any of you know that smacks of total depravity since I've been a pastor? No, you ain't never found me with nobody in my bed. You never found me stealing no money. You never found. Oh, I had a crackpot board of elders that tried to bring up things on me because they wanted my position. I offered it to them one day when we was going to breakfast, and there was too chicken to take it. See, the actions of Adam and Eve in the garden. That's a good example, Melvin. But all right, let's do this. I like that you raised that issue. What could you define? Xerix, I know you know this because I taught you that in basics. I have my opinion about how Adam and Eve looked. Adam and Eve was in the garden. Does anybody have any idea how these two human beings that had no mother and no father? Because we understand that God had created the earth and the universe and everything, and then he looked down and he saw that there was nothing to, I guess, make him happy. So he made a man. And then he looked at the man, and the man didn't have a helpmeet. All the animals had a male and a female. And then God looked down and saw that the man didn't have a female. So he put him to sleep. And after he put him to sleep, wait a minute, follow me. I'm going to show you why these stories, you better pay attention. He put him to sleep. And then when he put him to sleep, I don't know how he used it, what he used, Novocaine, whatever it is. I don't know you. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how. It said that he formed Adam out of what? The dust of the ground. How did God do that? I don't know. I don't know. I never told my students in theology that I know everything. And I told them what I felt was suspicious, because you don't know. Nobody knows. Now, wait a minute. He puts Adam to sleep, and then he takes one of his ribs. I guess he broke it off, I'm not sure. The contingency, we all come from, yes, we all come from that way, but we still don't know how the original contingency was, because Adam wasn't born, nor was Eve. They were just placed there on the spot. And I know these are difficult things sometimes for you to listen to, and because, well, if you don't believe that, what do you believe? I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell you what I believe, that human beings have been on this planet for so many thousands, possibly millions of years. I don't believe in the day age theory that the earth was created in 7 days and everything was like that. No, 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 no. I know what they teach in these churches and in these seminaries. I know what they teach, but they're still discovering skulls. Did you see the latest discovery in Egypt a couple of years ago during the pandemic? They found this medical physician's tomb in Egypt in the Condor region. You can find it all on YouTube. It's all out there. Well, they found this doctor, and all of his stuff was intact. The medical tools that he used, of course, the substance that they put in these jars were gone. But this was before the time of the Hebrews in Goshen. This was before Jerusalem. They found all of these artifacts in this, and it disproves that. And if you don't know that, you will be disturbed. Now, let me tell you something. No, I'm not a crazy pastor, lost my mind. I know some of you, because I know you're watching me. I see how many hits come on this thing. And you notice I only told 2 people that I was going to be on, and they're on now. I didn't tell anybody else because I don't advertise. I don't want to advertise. If a man is serious enough, if a woman is serious enough, if a young child is serious enough to discover who God is in their lives. Let me go back to that example. This man, 30-something years old, called me. He was quite shaken by looking at the economy and what it may become. And the man told me that he had been drinking. And I said, you shouldn't drink when you read stuff like this. The man broke out crying. And he said, PJ, what am I going to do? I said, what do you mean, what are you going to do? What am I going to do if the economy fails and this monetary system? I said, you see these people trying to come across the border coming over here, don't you? They know what they're going to do. They would cross the border, come over here, work in the McDonald's, feed their family, and live. Now, what is more godly? Is it more godly for us to open the borders and to allow our neighbors to come and receive some of the blessings that we have received, even though we were indentured, colonialized idiots that didn't have the knowledge? Well, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have all that. Every time I talk with certain young men, I make a statement and they pick up the phone. They pick up, I got to see what Google says. Or they do something like this. Siri, how old am I?
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
Now, I don't know who that idiot is on the other side of my phone, but I'm not opening up my iPhone for nobody, because I know how old I am, I know where I came from, and I know a story when I hear it. I think that most African American men and women do. It's when you get your mind fogged up and cluttered. It's like there's a well-known Anglo-Saxon pastor. I'm not going to mention his name. He's dredged in scandal. And instead of his compadres telling him he's out of his mind, step down off of the pulpit. I remember once I was pastoring the home church, and I got lonely. I really did. And to make a long story short, I got loaded off of some marijuana. And I felt so embarrassed because I act so uh, shamefully. Um, I admitted to the church and the church elders. I said, set my behind down for 3 months without pay. They said, no, we're going to pay you. But do you need counseling? No, I don't need counseling. I know what I was doing and know who I am. I told you to follow this contingency law that these people made up, that when a pastor is human and does something like that, that you got to punish him to make him get right. All right. Melvin says, clearer. What is the contingency? Oh, okay, Melvin. Xerix would probably tell you. Okay, you are Melvin Jones. I am John Coleman. What made you Melvin Jones? What made you Melvin Jones was your mama and your daddy. What made me John Coleman was my mom and daddy, because my life is contingent upon those that came before me. Now, if you want to play the Bible game to take this contingency thing all the way back, then everything that you're seeing is contingent upon what? Now, let's go back to the thing, because I was talking about total depravity, right? What had I done? What did I do? See, I'm trying to pick an age. What did I do at whatever age that proved my total depravity? What did I do as, you guys can answer it. What did I do as a kid? Was me stealing a bubble gum out of Crybaby's market when I was a kid? Did that mean I was totally depraved? Because if you're totally depraved, you can't be saved without a savior. And I never went to God and told God that I stole a pack of Cracker Jacks out of the store. Am I totally depraved? What you guys think? And please, if you say that I am, give me some evidence. All right, Melvin says, that's not a contingency born as a human being. You are fallen in Adam. I don't know Adam. Thank you, Melvin. I'm so glad you said that. I don't know Adam. Now, I'm a human being. And this is what Melvin is saying for those of you that will watch this thing later. This is what Melvin is saying. All human beings have the human being gene. Yes, we do. Some of us live in Asia. Some of us derive from Africa. Some of us from the Polynesian Islands. Some of us from the archives of China, Mongolia, Korea, Japan, the Philippines, some all over. Look at the continent of Africa. Look at all those different countries. Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent. And when you look at that continent and see all the substances, the ore, the gold, the diamonds, that continent is the richest continent on the planet. But them boys from Europe built some ships. And they went over there and they took with them. And man, just look at the history of China. That's why the Chinese army is so strong. And them people are very innovative. And they're not going to let nobody take that back. They're not going to listen to that contingency argument. They're going to say, if we don't protect what we have and buy up all this stuff around us and put those universalist democracy pretenders out of whack, that's what Putin's trying to do. That's why the world is in a flux now. Melvin says, you don't have to do anything. Being the richest doesn't have anything to do with it. Well, maybe to you it doesn't. But I believe that men are like this, Melvin. Whoever has the most toys wins the game. Because see, I'm a man. I'm thinking like a man. I'm not thinking like a religious person. Whoever owns the most toys and has most of the goods are winners. That's why you see our president and the last president fighting against each other. Why you think all these women coming forward talking about he did this to me, that he did that? Somebody's getting paid. Somebody's getting paid. Now, to me, that's total depravity. Because when he first did it, you should have screamed to the top of your voice if you disagreed with it. And every time I turn on the news, I see these people talking this stuff, and I'm saying, you know what? What kind of a fool do you take me for? Wait a minute. Without Christ, Melvin says, you are depraved. And depravity doesn't mean you do much evil as possible. Oh, yeah, we discussed that. We discussed that in seminary also. How much evil? Ooh, Melvin, thank you, brother. You took me back to the days when I went to Talbot Theological Seminary. Dr. Ross Cup. No, he had just left to go to the Master's Seminary over there. I know how it is. We discussed those things. And I'm sitting in the classroom. My hair was black then. And I'm I'm raising my hand because ain't nobody asking the question like that. Wait a minute. Then Zarek says, then what was Enoch's contingency? Oh my goodness. That's the good one. Or Abraham's contingency. And did that change with their encounter with Yahweh? That's an excellent question. Hey, what about David? David was a whoremonger. His sons were whoremongers. And David was a murderer. Had Uriah the Hittite killed and told his kingly guard to bring that woman up to, and yet the Bible said that David was a man after God's own heart. I rest my case. Wait a minute, you guys still talking with me. I love you both. Melvin says, what does it do to gain the whole world and lose your soul? Well, who told you I'm going to lose my soul? See, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to gain the whole world. I couldn't get the whole world in my office. As a matter of fact, I don't even want what the whole world wants. I don't have an appetite for it. Let's say, all right, we remember that crooked black preacher that bought that jet, right? See, that to me is gaining the whole world. And then what did the crooked white preacher say? He said, well, I'm taking a jet because I don't want my body to wear out riding with those depraved creatures. I don't know why anybody would go to that man's church. He just called the whole blooming congregation a bunch of hellbound heathens, and they bought him a Lear jet. And then was going to buy one of Tyler Perry's jets. I think he bought that. One of them did. Man, that's the whole, I don't want that. I never wanted it. So I'm not going to hell for that. See, that's the way I do me. But he still doesn't answer the question. And then Melvin said, it is a weak cause. I'm glad we can have this discussion. And you know what? I want to do it one day when I have all three faces on the screen, so you people that watch afterwards can see what happens in elder people's mind. Because see, I'm your elder. I'm the sage. I know what I'm talking about. I don't go to no church. Ooh, lift up my hands. Oh, God going. Stop. Wait a minute. Let's keep looking at this. All right. And then Melvin says, you said the one who ends up with it wins. What do you win if you die without Christ? All right, that excellent question, Melvin. Let me answer. What makes you think I'm without Christ? I could be as rich as Beyonce and Jay-Z and have Christ. Yes. Oh, I have my Juneteenth flag flying. I got to show you guys through the window. It'll just take a second for me to turn it around. I want you to see my Juneteenth flag. See that Juneteenth flag flying outside my window? Oh yes. I guess I'm going to hell because I believe in affirming black people, right? Yes, I do. Because I'm telling you, I want black people to be proud of who they are and what they have. But let me answer the question. Um, what makes you think I don't have Christ? Yeah, let's do that right now. If I can think of one reason why, wait a minute, we says address the contingency, Melvin. Does it change? Did the tunis on Adam and Eve make their contingency, or is it something else? Oh, that's excellent because they didn't have a mother and a father. And so since they sinned, Xerix is implying, Melvin, would you say that God put that contingency on them? And since God knows everything, did God know that they were going to sin? And so would it be just for God to kick them out of the garden if he knew that they did not have, oh, thank you, Lord, if they did not have the ability to confer with themselves whether they would sin? My example that I use, gentlemen, would be the Apostle Peter. All right. When he told Jesus, though all men forsake you, I never will. I'll die for you. And Jesus being God. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to go out on a limb on this. I believe that there was a great amount of the Spirit of God in the prophet Yahweh. I believe that. That's why I didn't feel bad about joining the Christian church. Yes, I believe he was divine because of what he's done in my life. What he's doing in my life now, gentlemen. Let me say it. Who said they had sinned? I don't know. You don't think that Eve sinned when she listened to the snake and bit of that fruit? It was not an apple. God said that the day you eat of this fruit, you will surely die. Did he say anything about them going to hell? Now, I know that Xerix can quote this. I taught all my students what the definition of sin was. If you go to my Facebook page, I got it on a scroll. The definition of sin is the lack of conformity to the revealed will of God and the refusal of the creature to be united with his creator through faith. That's the only way you can sin. If you do not conform to what you know to be the truth. I don't conform to fairy tales. That's what happened to the American church. That's what happened to America. They gave themselves over to fairy tales and then they started ordaining their wives. And in the New Testament scriptures, it says you should not ordain a woman and have her usurp authority over a man. And we just fall for everything. Good. I don't know who said they sinned. That's why I asked the question. Oh, I'm a sinner, huh? How did I sin? I asked my pastor when I first joined the church, I'm a sinner and I'm going to hell. Yeah, you're going, is that right? I said, I will study further with you, Pastor Stanley, because this intrigues my mind. Now, I know what I do for people. I had a young man's grandmother call me. Well, she called her grandson. And the grandson said, wait a minute, I want you to talk with a man that's helping me out. Because the man is homeless and he needs a few months, 6 months, 8 months to get on his feet, get a job, get his mind thinking right about things. I brought him in my home. Is God going to send me to hell? No, I ain't have no sex with him. What's the matter with you? So you got dirt on your mind. You need to stop that. Sin is disobeying. Sin is disobeying is sin. Okay. No. Listen to Origen's definition. You don't know that you're sinning until you define whether you are conforming to the revealed will of God. Not no preacher. See, Xerix speaks now. Xerix Xerix, keep this saying vocational. Sin is a lack of conformity to the revealed will of God, which means it was in them from the beginning. If you don't like something, you won't do it. That's right. Or eat it. That's right. Temptation has to be present to yield. Right. And I don't do what I don't want to do. I only do what is natural for me to do. And I find myself these days hanging with more people that are natural like myself. I don't want to hang with somebody that's not like me. I remember I got to say it, I got to say it, I got to say it, I got to say it. Now listen. Yes, sir. That's what do you mean? Oh, you're talking to Xerix. Xerix, he says that you are saying more than it says in the text. No, listen, no, this wasn't Xerix or my definition of sin. You have to understand, Melvin, 200 years after Christ had died, the church in Northern Africa and most of the clerics there were black men because Christianity had its starting place in Northern Africa, the true African American male. That's why I celebrate Juneteenth. We know more about this thing than the hijackers that hijacked our lives and then put non-contingency word of God on us and try to frighten the life out of us by threatening us with hell. So back about 200 something like that, Origen was one of the theologues, like the others in his day, was trying to figure out how do we define sin. This is what I was taught, missing the mark and all that kind of stuff. But Origen defined it with that statement. And I recall because I was giving awards at the Basics of the Faith banquet at a hotel, and we had a professor of theology and philosophy from Talbot Seminary was the keynote speaker that I invited to speak at this. And before he got up to speak, I said to the whole room, they're graduates of my Basics of Faith class. And I said, tell the professor what sin is. We all in unison quoted Origen, the one that I just gave you. And do you know what the white professor said? You mean you taught these people that? I said, yes. And he said, this is what he said. I've got to change my whole lecture now because I'm not talking with people that don't know nothing. See, I know who I am. And I know why I taught them that. And it makes a difference. Melvin says, doubtless, Cleopatra was black too. I guess I don't understand bringing Cleophas into this. Wait a minute. Melvin said first, Romans said, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Yes. Yes. If I get on this site and start drinking booze and smoking pot, that's sinning because I've harmed somebody's life. But it don't mean I'm going to a burning sulfur pit. I may slip on a bar of soap and break my neck. Oh, this is a wonderful conversation. But you said, have not sinned. I only know when I sin when my conscience lets me know of that. Now, how can a pastor who believes in the Holy Spirit and righteousness cover up the truth with his bald-faced lie? I would never do that. And that's what's the matter now. You got these people, oh, wait a minute. We got a good discussion going on here. Look at here. Zarek said, Melvin, the text says that the woman had an appetite for it. What do you mean? Deduction would mean the fruit of the forbidden or the forbidden thing was attractive to the eye prior to, that's good, prior to hearing anything from the serpent. Yes, that's how you weigh it. And then Melvin says, Certainly not. No one is saying that. Then Melvin says, they both ate of the fruit. Wait a minute. Let me straighten this up for you right now, Melvin, because see, there's something you don't understand. At this time, there was only two human beings on the planet, Adam and Eve. God spoke to Adam. He never said a word to Eve. He told Adam, you shall not eat of it, for if you eat of it, you should surely die. He could have touched it. He could have picked it. But God told Adam that. He didn't tell Eve nothing. Only thing he told Eve, obey your husband. And Eve knew what her husband had gotten from God, because as any head of the family, the man told his wife, because women are of a different nature than men. This is why when I read my Bible, I read it with understanding. And so Eve saw the fruit, and she desired because it would make her wise. See, she wanted, and that's what's happening in our churches and in our society today, because these women think that they're wiser. That's why when I was a pastor and these women would come forward and say, I'm a preacher too, I said, woman, get out my face. You like your sister Eve. Wait a minute. Both of them ate of the truth. But Melvin, you're missing the point. Adam ate the fruit because he knew his wife was a dead woman and he didn't want to be there alone. So he ate it to join her in death. What any real good man would do for the wife that he has. What you expect him to do? Live on that planet with no other human being for the rest of his life, forever? Because if you follow the story from the Christian church, they were eternal creatures when God made them. Come on, let's keep the writ right. Wait a minute. Zarek says something. He says, stop hammer time. Stop hammer time. No. Eve ate because she was attracted to the fruit. Adam ate because of his love for his wife. I just said that. Yeah, that's basics, Melvin. And then Melvin comes back and he says, you keep coming up with a flaky under the understanding. It doesn't say you keep inserting your views. No. All right, Melvin, you are married and you have a wife. If your wife ate that fruit, would you let her die and go into a burning pit and you wouldn't eat it? Or would you follow her because you loved her enough to want to be with her? You see, when you read this book, read it like a human being that has a cognitive understanding of what it means. Ooh, look at me. My underarms are sweating. I'm doing this, Xerxes, it's like I'm behind the pulpit, brother. Don't get me going. I told you, don't get me going. Anybody try to accuse me of not loving my God, my Lord, you messed up. Anybody want a pastor? Come on. Hire me. You ain't got to pay me nothing. I come there and teach you this stuff free. I'm not looking for no money. Wait a minute. Let me read this. And thank you, brothers. I love you because you're making my cast come alive. We need to do this more often. Melvin said, Mormon doctrine, not what it said. Who talking about them people over there? Joseph Smith left New York because he was run out of New York State because of that stuff that he was teaching. We aren't talking about something that started after the Americas was founded. These people came running for their lives from Europe. And Joseph didn't stop running until he got to Utah and he said, this is Zion. I've read him. I had to teach that too. Melvin, it is important that you address issues. Don't ever bring up an issue to argue a point if the point is null and void because it makes no sense. What these people did when they colonized us, they had to come up with individualized religion to justify their colonization, i.e. the Mormons. All right. And then Zarek says, marriage counseling classes. Yes. If you was going to get married, you had to sit through 10 weeks of marriage counseling with me. And I asked that couple, oh, do you love? And then I asked them, man, are you willing to eat of that fruit like Adam did, to die with your wife? And if the man said no, I tell that woman, don't marry him, because you're in for a disaster. My wife died in this room, and she was on the bed right here in front of where I am. And I asked her, do you know I love you? Well, go to sleep. Go to sleep. It's going to be all right. And no, I didn't cry or nothing, but I knew she was dying. Could you do that? Because that's why Adam ate of that fruit. Now, if Adam sinned and did that horribly, why would God send him to hell? He only loved his wife. Why would God be stuck on a principle that didn't make any logical sense to anybody and then castigate everybody like that? That's what happened in Christianity, my friend. See, I read this Bible. I got books behind me. You think this 79-year-old man is a crackpot? I wouldn't tell that to black people in the church that I pastored. That would be ridiculous. Wait a minute. It goes on. Zarek says, what's Mormon doctrine? It is the intentions of the, well, y'all can read these things on your own. Good point. Yeah, I love this. Mormons are the same, Melvin says, have the same doctrine. It was wrong for the, well, see, I don't want to talk about other people that's been run out of one state to the next state, because every state them people stopped in, they got run out. Study the true history of that. Just like I have to mention the man, he's dead now, Eddie Long. I don't know whether Eddie Long was gay, but I know that him messing with them boys like that at that age was wrong, dead wrong. And I saw the way he went down so quick. Did you see how quick his body shrunk into nothing? I never did no mess like that. See, but what was he doing? Living off of the fat land of the black people and other people that joined his ministry. There has been crooks in the business of religion since day one. And that's one thing that I can thank God for. I have never used the ministry to get $1. No, never did that. Okay. All right. We're continuing. Zarek says, Melvin, you are losing the argument. Adam said the woman gave it. Yes, he did. He said the woman gave it to me. And so since he loved her, he bid it. I'm not reading into it. Hey, if I knew the result of that now, I would say, Lucy, what you doing? Lucy, didn't I tell you that God told you we can't eat that? What you giving me that for, girl? I don't want that. That would have been me. But if I loved Lucy, loved her because she was the only other human being on the planet, listen to me, Melvin. There was no other human being on the planet. Of course I bit of the fruit. I love my woman. And I was with my woman when she passed away, and entitled the sermon, My Woman Left Me for Another Man. That's how confident I was that everything that I was teaching in this Bible was the absolute truth. I'm telling you. And the argument goes on. Melvin says, where does it say Adam is in hell? I don't know. I never read that. That's an interesting question. I never thought about it. And then Zarek says, it doesn't say Adam is in hell. God covered them properly. Yes, he did. The clothing of the man and the woman, God superseded, because God said, oh, I got to do something for these people because they're off the chain. They are going off the chain here. Wait a minute. I love this. Melvin says, I would say, I haven't. Adam tried to throw her under the bus. What? Where you get that from? Well, let me read the next sentence. Wait a minute. And then Melvin said, you're not presenting anything substantial, just going with your feeling. And then Melvin said, it's still bogus. Well, all right, let me conjecture this thing here. Melvin, it's all right. You don't have to listen to reality. See, as I told you, and I love you, man. You're one of the nicest brothers I ever met. I love you. The way you was running your website and everything, but you need to think a little bit more about the nature of human beings. You know, my friend, oh, I forget his name. Serix, what's his name? He just did a debate. He's in some kind of Israel religion now. Henry Benz. Henry Benz did a YouTube debate with another man that's in another one of these offshoot religions. And Henry won the debate because Henry sat in my classroom for a good while and he learned how to argue. Also, Xerix and I were speaking earlier and was speaking about a young white fella that took theology with me. He went on to get his bachelor and his master's, I think his bachelor's, from the master's college, Dan Majors. And man, they treated Dan so bad because he was, wait a minute, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you how you can get tricked and befoiled. Dan came in contact with this book right here. Okay? And I want you to know what this is. Anthony Buzzard was the author, and it's called The Doctrine of the Trinity. Well, the young man read the book, and he told me about it, and he said that he went to all the theologues, all the master's college PhDs, and all those people. Because Dan said Anthony Buzzard is correct. At that time, Anthony was teaching a theology class in the Atlanta area at a Bible school out there. And Anthony was getting a lot of people to listen to him. I remember because Dan contacted me. I was his first and foremost teacher. Dan is an Anglo-Saxon. He's not black. And he contacted me and I said, Dan, I can't go deep into the Greek and tell you what the Holy Spirit's supposed to do, but I'm going to tell you this. Something moved in me, and I know that it is far greater than anything that I've ever experienced. And I'm going to attribute that to the Holy Spirit of God. Now, you can fly with it, or walk with it, or run with it, but Dan chose to get out of the whole Christian thing, even to the point that he didn't even believe in God anymore. I believe he still does, and I still love Dan. He and I talk all the time, because Dan picked up something in me. I love him more than I want to argue with him about some foolishness written thousands and thousands of years ago. Now, let me get back to the point. And if Dan ever looks at it, Dan, I still love you, and we need to hook up and go to dinner. And I remember Dan was playing music at a place a number of years ago, and I showed up at this place because he invited me, and I had a male friend of mine. He was gay, I was gay. I said, let me go and see one of my students. Dan just came to the table, and we just talked and laughed, and didn't nobody think anything. See, there's something when you have a religion that affirms God Almighty, and then you come in contact with someone that don't part their hair the way that you do, and then you're going to castigate him to fire and brimstone. I don't do that. That's ridiculous. Wait a minute. Melvin asked me this. He said, You have yet to do anything beside make assumptions with no support. Y'all help me. I thought I was supporting it. And then it says, tell me again why blaming is not, why blaming her is not throwing her under the. She knew that Adam was addicted to her sexually. And she knew her man would not abandon her. Why do you think the Apostle Paul said you should not ordain a woman over these men in the church? He knew that they had this persuasive behavior and they do it with their sexuality to get the man to do anything. I don't need to give you any evidence outside of human behavior. See, you just can't read the Bible without an explanation for that book. And that's one reason, gentlemen, I haven't gone back into another church, because people do not have the, how can I put it? They don't have the sense enough to think outside of a fantasy land book. And I'm not calling the Bible that. Addicted sexually, where is that? I can't believe you asked me that, Melvin. I cannot believe that you asked me that. Why did God put them together? Because he saw that the man was lonely. He just wasn't lonely because they wanted to build a house or get an IRA account together or buy a Mercedes. No, because in that state of humanity, it was about, girl, you make me feel good. And I feel good with you. I don't know why these Christians are walking around acting like they are not human. What's the matter with you? And that's why these young people are so set on edge, because whenever these Christians start to, oh, you're going to send me to hell because I want to run off from school and be with my lover. Yeah, she want to be with her lover or vice versa. Wait a minute. Where does it say that? Melvin, I'm not going to fall into your trap of trying to get me. See, you're trying to get me off the subject. Wait a minute. I tried to do this before, and I do this whenever I do my webcast. I taught logic in college, and here's one of the books that I taught in logic with good reason. This is talking about an introduction to informal fallacies. The book is falling apart. You see it? All the pages? It's falling apart because I taught this book, boy. I taught logic, inductive logic, deductive logic, I'm a college professor, a graduate with a brain. I didn't smoke no weed and go crazy. Wait a minute, Xerix is saying something. I'm sorry I took you over the hour, but I'm just excited. I need a pulpit to preach from. That's what it is. Xerix says, and I should wear the right glasses. Xerix says, Melvin, this is bone of my bone. You think God, you think God would have taken the other rib from Adam? Oh my God. Oh my God, Eric. Yes, and never would have eaten. Or would God, this is good. Sorry, guys, my eyes are getting bad. Or would God produce the first divorce? Yes, Eric. Yes. 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 And then Eric says, man, this is beautiful. No trap. Already, it was a couple of weeks ago. Graduate doesn't make it so. Right. You know what? I like this conversation, Melvin and Eric's. I like this conversation because it's better than the other penny ante rules that they have out there. You can't do this. You can't do. Open up your mind and think for yourself. How you going to have a real debate and you not thinking off the chain? I had a friend of mine ask me a few weeks ago, and he knows who he is. Do you believe anything in the Bible? I said, I believe most of it, but I know how to dissect what I read. Why? Because I practice biblical hermeneutics and I taught biblical canonicity, and I know the inspirational teachings all throughout the 80s. I'm a theologue, man. I'm a retired theologue, enjoying my life at 79. Do I look good to you? Look at that. I'm sweating, man. It's like I'm preaching. I'm supposed to look good. I'm God's servant. I take care of this body. And I told you people, when I laid on that operation table, I told God, you can take me if you want to. But if you let me live, I'm going to go on that YouTube channel and I'm going to help these people out because they are unfortunately misguided. All right. Here it goes. Melvin answers there. He's back and said, Z, the punishment wasn't created a divorce to send her to hell. Yeah, but she ate of the fruit, Melvin. You got to address that. And we don't see anywhere in the writ where Adam chastises her for that. He immediately, the way it looks in the script, he immediately said, give me some of that. As you is, I am. That was the love of a man that loved his wife. And if God would send any of them to hell for eating that fruit, remember the lack of conformity to the revealed will of God. Eve could say, since you don't think Xerxes answered you, Eve can say, God never told me anything. He told you. He didn't tell me. And with the arrogant nature of females today, that seems practical to me because that's the way a woman would talk back to a man. Fortunately, my daughters may disagree with me. My wife would never speak back to me like that because I said, you talking to me like that? And I know. See, because I don't care who you are, man, woman, boy or girl, anything. You're going to come against what God said. You ain't going to be no enemy of mine. It's going to make me love you more. But I've got to prove my point. And all this back and forth, you haven't convinced me. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. You know what God told me, people? God told me, I'm not finished with you. You get on that social media thing and talk to my creation. That's all God told me. Not gonna get on here and say, oh, hit subscribe. I got to get another subscriber. Hit it. Show me that you like it. I don't need you paying attention to me. Go to a library or go on that Google search and look up these things for yourself. Stop going to these churches, giving all your living and your earnings to these so-called pastors. You got some good men out there that are preaching the truth that won't even take your money. That's the one you ought to be listening to. But I'm not going to mention no names because I don't want to get kicked off my channel. But I'm thinking about somebody that came up and turned Christianity inside out, upside down. Everybody started buying this man's books, and this man denied God and everything. And these pastors have this foolish man coming in their churches, teaching these untaught people, and then up on top of that, telling them that they owe God a 10% of everything they have. God don't need your money. No. I tell you what I did when I was in the church and it came time for the offering. I said, you are now in the hands of the ushers. And you know what I do? Leave the pulpit and go to my office. I don't even care how much they were given. I'm listening and participating because you invited me. Of course I did, Melvin. Who said he did? Led died. Who died? I don't understand, Melvin. Ah, yes. Yes. Yes, of course I invited you because I wanted you to ask me personal questions about my life that I could answer on a public forum to let everybody know that this man is thoroughly convinced that he is God's prophet and that he loves Yahweh, Jehovah. If the Muslims say that they're worshiping Yahweh, Jehovah, I love the Muslims. If the Mormons say they love Yahweh and Jehovah and me, I love the Mormons. I love the Buddhists. I love the gays. I love the straights. I love the ups and I love the downs. That's John Coleman. Because God didn't do nothing but put love in my heart. Now, the church, my family church needed a pastor. And when God saved me, I prepared myself, and that's all I taught for years. Melvin says, not explained all over the last couple of weeks. You explained all over the last couple of weeks. So, of course I did. Zarek says, Melvin, stop it. As if you would exit, but you're being polite. But you want a PJ's library, right? Because I did tell him, Melvin. Some of Melvin, well, shame on Zarek's too. Shame on Zarek's too. And Melvin is saying, huh. Well, I mentioned Melvin to Zarek's, our good friend, that he, like you, wanted a portion of my library. Zarek's is coming by soon to do a live video on me, the same as he did for Dr. Howard, Harley Howard, because Harley and I were the only two black pastors in this country that came on the radio and was pushing that Bible. And no, I never told Harley that I was gay. Why would I do that? That had nothing to do with me dissecting the wonderful word of God. So that is up there for a reason. See, if any man gets my works, I have to have a full-fledged agreement that that man is going to reproduce what I said in the way that I said it. And that's why I'm coming on YouTube Live. Because a lot of people are, well, John, what happened to John? Nothing happened to John. I got old and I retired. Look, you ought to be glad I'm not in Paris because their president is trying to get him to retire later in life. And they say, wait. Zarek says, no, PJ, I wanted to preserve your work because your daughters would not write. And by not changing any part of it. Right. Because my daughters, when I died, they say, Daddy, we're not concerned about all this stuff you got in that office, all that stuff. We're just going to get a dump truck and dump it off. They're my daughters. And guess what? Their freedom, they are free to do it. Because when I'm dead, my body is gone and my spirit is somewhere. Now, heaven is another subject matter. Because I don't want to go to no heaven where the streets are paved with gold. Because I've never been after gold. See what I mean? You got to, come on now. Come on. Who was mining back in that day? All right, wait a minute. I'm loving it. Maybe this video will be the one will define who the real John Coleman is. Please. I had people come and join the church that I pastored, and it was always more men than women. Women couldn't stand me. I remember one of my deacons, he's dead now. I can talk about it. The women was having a tizzy fit on the campus after we moved to 95th and Broadway. They were having a tizzy fit. And one of the older deacons went up to him and said, what's the matter? Did the pastor touch you? Did he touch you? And one of the women with tears in her eyes said, no, that's why we crying. He ain't paying us no attention at all. Right, why would I? Bring your behind in there and open up that Bible and stop looking at me. I had under Lucia Garandola Soledad Blanco Coleman, Lucy, my Filipino wife. I wasn't looking for nobody else. Please, let's get the right. Because see, after I die, you're going to hear a lot of stuff come out about me. Oh, he was this, he was a Looney Tune. Download it, and so you have my testimony. Thank you, Xerix. All right, Melvin said, who said I was going to change your words? I guess it's supposed to be. I didn't say it, but I don't know why you wanted them. You didn't tell me why you wanted them. You need to tell me why you wanted them. What are you going to do? And then Xerix said, it's not an ad hominem. We are talking for real, brother. What does that say? What kind of brother shop talk? Stop, whatever. And then Derek said, it's still Kushak. Yeah, boy. See, those of you that are reading this and Kushak Theory, I got the original album. And if I had it up here, I'd be playing it right now. But it's somewhere in this office. If I played Kushak, because I don't think that YouTube would kick me off for playing it, they wouldn't even understand what they're listening to. We were handling it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to step out on a limb and say this. I haven't spoken with Harley in a couple of years. But I think Harley Howard and John Coleman knows that we were the last of the black prophets that was going to do it right. That's why Harley and I both were beckoned by people to go from state to state. In my case, I was teaching basics, something that I taught because I knew that the church could not do basic theology. The church could not do it. And so my life was poured into that. And you know why I love these discussions? Because young people will be able to go to this conversation years after I'm dead. And Xerix, he told me, he said, no, don't fade away like that. Come on, God will give you strength. And I'm going to keep coming as powerful as this whenever I come on. You may find a few of them that's not this bold, because I'm going an hour and 17 minutes already. But I used to do live talk radio for 2 hours on a Sunday night after I preached in the morning and Sunday night, and met Xerix, was a part of my radio staff, in my garage before I drove all the way to Glendale to do talk radio. Myself and Dr. Harley Howard. And when I see what's going on in the church these days, oh my God. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I want to thank those of you that view me after the fact. You can tell your friends to subscribe if you want to. I don't know when I'm going to do my next one because I may be dead. But wait a minute, let me see what Xerix is saying to me. No, it's not. You have yet to address the contingency, which came from Adam's original sin. What's anybody's original sin? Yours included. And what does that mean? Oh, I see. To being covered by Christ. Talk to me. Okay. I was born in the human realm as a human being. I'm a Homo sapien. I'm a Homo sapien, so I fall under the category of human. One of the greatest theologians that ever addressed that and wrote about it was Martin Luther, the famous theologue of Germany. And some of the greatest debates that you ever want to listen to were done by the old theologues, which the Calvinists debated the Arminian on contingency. I do not personally look into that argument as being something that you can stay up about. Yes, it's a very good question. The non-answer. Watch the non-answer. Oh! Well, Melvin, why don't you tell me what you want me to answer? You're going to ask me to go to a Bible verse, right? All have sinned and come short of the glory of God, even me. Has my sin been noteworthy to send me to a burning hell? Which he did not answer. I'm answering it right now. I can, oh my God. I can't answer that for you. I can only answer that for me. If you're going to let someone introduce you, okay, yes, without Christ. What do you mean? I don't get that. What I need Christ for? To answer a question. I know if I'm lacking in my conformity to the revealed will of God, I'm not. What? Yes, without Christ. Come on, Melvin. I can go a few more minutes. This is a very good discussion. And you see, okay, here we come. We got one. Again, no answer. No, it's not the answer you want. See, and that's what you evangelicals do. If I don't give the answer that Talbot taught me to answer, then I'm illegitimate. Well, phooey on you and all the people that think like that. I don't know about what's going on in anybody else's life but mine. I'm not trying to answer you. You can keep typing that in. That's not going to make me change. I don't have to give you an answer. I'm not subject to you, and you can call it ad hominem. No, you know what that is? Stand your ground. That's what that is. I don't let no religious impetus send me into la la land. Oh, I'm so afraid I didn't answer this brother, and he's gonna. Yeah, really? Now, I'll tell you how that works. I'm going to give you an illustration. This preacher is dead now. I won't mention his name, but he was spilling bum scoop to Black people in our community. A member of my congregation was an airline stewardess, and she said, he travels on my airline. I said, really? I said, when you see him, would you give him this letter? And she gave him the letter. Listen, Melvin, contingency you're talking about, right? And I invited this preacher, well known, rich, to come on my program with me, the radio program, or to have a debate about what he's teaching on his television program. And he was ever increasing on that stuff. So you just put it together. You know who it is. We're in the same city. I can't think of one day that I ever went to that Doom Dome because there was nothing to go there for. I have on my YouTube page a clip where I confronted this man with another preacher who was trying to get the whole city to buy in. I'm answering your question, Melvin. Oh, wait a minute. Melvin said, and you don't have to give me an answer. You know, you keep misrepresenting. Okay, whatever. That's the way you view the conversation. This is the way John Coleman is. John Coleman has never refused to answer a question, but John Coleman is not, as a philosopher, he is not going to give you the answer you think you want to hear. He's going to give you the one you need to think about. You need to think about it. So she delivered the letter to this preacher, and he never responded back to me, and he's boasting and bragging about he can just speak God's will and wisdom, and he live, and he was telling the people you can choose a date to die. If you get sick, he was telling people don't even take no medicine. You got to believe Jesus or believe your doctor. I remember when he said that. And then when he tried to quote the Apostle Paul, wait a minute. What is that? Melvin is asking whether John is gay, and if he is, how does John reconcile that against Scripture? Melvin is afraid to mention it. Oh, is that what he's doing? Well, yes, Melvin, I am gay. but I am more of a homosexual than I am a gay man. And I've been knowing that ever since I was a little kid, especially in junior high school, because I loved being around the boys, but they would never pick me to be on the team because I was too bashful. Growing up in the inner city in Los Angeles, I didn't know how to hang out with boys. No, I never played with girly dolls and all that stuff because I never wanted to be a woman. What the world? I just had this mad attraction towards male. Now, since I didn't choose to be that way, and since God made me that way, why would he call me to preach if he knew I was gay? Can you answer that, Melvin? And you can use all the scripts you want. Why would God choose a man like me to preach when I was... And can't nobody find nothing wrong with none of my sermons on YouTube, the internet, nothing. Why would God choose a man that he knew was gay? Now, Melvin Jones answers, and let me read this answer. I'm so happy, boy. Let me see. Melvin says, Melvin doing no such thing. We established weeks ago, Xerix, you would find yourself, you would limit yourself to things that you know, of course. He can't limit himself to things. You know what? I have to tell Melvin other people that know me because when I die, they're going to try to scandalize my name, brother. I know humans. And what I want to do is when I die, and I'm going to say this right now, I'm going to go to be with God. I don't know where it is. I don't want no streets paved with gold. I don't want no mansion. I ain't living in no mansion. I never wanted material things. If that's what you waiting to get, good luck. That ain't me. Wait a minute. Goes on, Eric says, say it, John. You are gay and live upright with your gay feelings. Do you practice or participate in some gay emotions or ask the right question? Okay, and Melvin answered and said, but he didn't. And then Melvin said, why are you making assumptions like that? Well, he has to because he's a truth seeker. And when you're a truth seeker and ain't got nothing to hide, remember, I'm the one that did the interview with Dr. E.V. Hill when Henry Lyons had that hole and lived in the boathouse. Remember that? I'm the same John Coleman. I'm the one that's going to handle the issues that ain't nobody. These other preachers, they just trying to get a paycheck month after month. Xerix knows I've never been after money. That's why I told people when they said, oh, Pastor John, we want to join your church. I would ask them, are you sure? Wait a minute. Why are you making assumptions like that? He didn't what? Renounce his feelings? Yeah. And then Melvin comes back and says, he didn't ask. He made a statement. That's all I did. And then Xerix says, what am I saying, Melvin? And then Xerix says, statement of what? Yes, please. See, we're truth seekers. And aren't Christians supposed to be that? Aren't Christians supposed to be, they will know you by your truth speaking and all of this, and all these phonies that I speak to in the church don't even know what truth is because they haven't thought logically through anything. I had a student in philosophy. I'm going to try to answer your question this way. Melvin says about me and what motive I may have. Right. Because your questions force me to ask the question that nobody else wants to bring on the table. Why would you want my life's works? Now, Xerix said it because I asked Xerix the same question. Xerix said to preserve it and make sure that no one will ever be in a position to change what you have said. I wasn't talking about you. As a man in his 70s and a senior citizen, as a man that hasn't seen you or spoke with you in at least over 10, maybe 15 years, I don't know what would make you want my life's work? I don't get it. Unless you were going to build this monument to my truth speaking. People in the evangelical church hate me because I uncover their hiding. I decided to come out as a gay man because I saw the ungay community persecuting my brothers and sisters. And I said, oh no, I'm not going to sit by and watch this as a black man. And then you're going to use some Bible to try to tweak our mind. See, I have some gay people look at my YouTube lives. And I'm sure that in the gay community, a lot of them saw that I was a pastor. If you look at my early sermons, I'm speaking against lustful living like that. But I tell my gay friends, do you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about if you're being whorish. There's nothing wrong with you loving a man, or if you're a woman loving a woman, there's nothing wrong with it. But when you become such a religionist that you have that, and then you won't put the question on the table to me, of course I invited you to appear with me. And it isn't a one-sided argument. I wanted to go live where we can be on the screen, but I don't know how to do it on this contraption. Melvin says, what about me and what motive that I may have? Well, you can tell me now what your motive is, and then I'll make the decision whether I want to do it. Is that fair? And you can do it in front of Xerix because he, like you, is equal to you. He's equal to me. We're all brothers. We all believe in Jesus the Christ. I don't believe he was a white man with blue eyes and blonde hair and a halo hanging over his head. I believe he looked more like me at 33. And he was a truth teller. And I never heard him condemning homosexuals. Never. All right. So Melvin writes and says about what the motive is, or may have, but I ask out loud, nor do I. What? I don't understand the answer. See, the answer has to come from deep within you. I never heard him condemn. Wait, I never heard him condemn. Wait, I never heard him, you mean Jesus, condemn is pedophilia. What? You have to give me the text you're talking about. I got my Bible right here in front of me. And folk, if we go 2 hours, we just go 2 hours. Because you know, PJ, you have to listen to me 15 minutes at a time because you got to listen to what I said and then analyze it. Xerix comes up and says, Melvin, why would you want any work you differ with? Now, that's an excellent question. I have a contradiction. Wait, oh, that's a contradiction. My glasses. I apologize. John is my theological teacher and radio mentor. But you know that even in my disapproval in Newark, it's my mentor. And let me say this because Xerix is listening to me live. Xerix, you and what's his name had a room right next to mine. And after that meeting that night, I heard the conversation going on because a young man was confused. And I heard everything in the conversation and it didn't bother me. I said, they're human. They got to think through it, talk through it, deal with it. Now, if something as important as this subject matter, because we're talking about, that's why I chose to come on YouTube and tell anybody that got any question that they want to hear from me about the Bible, come to me. I have sometime gay men. I'm planning to have a bunch of gay men come to my house on Juneteenth and I just paid an enormous amount of money to get my backyard fixed up. I got all the weeds pulled up and everything. Had 5 guys working back there. Got my Juneteenth flag going, and those men can ask me any question they want. Shorty was his name. That's right. And Shorty was confused, and I just prayed and I said, "No, I'm not going to go and knock on that door. I hear what they're saying, but let them think through it." Because I knew this day is coming. I'm telling you guys, um, oh my goodness. Zarek, you mentioned JT. I remember when John, who I remember that weekend in Jersey. I remember it. And I have been to Melvin's home. I've been to his home. Melvin is, I tell him all the time, he's a dear friend of mine, but I'm a truth seeker. Melvin, that's my only, I want the truth. I don't know how Jesus raised all those people from the dead and gave them their sight back, but I want to believe that he did it because it gives me an opportunity to put my trust in Christ. Now, if I'm doing anything that is abnormal to that kind of testimony, I need to check myself. That's all I'm saying. All right, Melvin says, and then we're going to shut it down. There's no text. He never condemned pedophilia, so pedophilia must be okay. Oh no, man, that's circular argument, man. What is that? Wait a minute, man. Which one is it? Is that begging the question? It could be. When you beg the question, you said you're offering a premise of a simple restatement of a desired conclusion. See, that's what you got, Melvin. You have a desired conclusion, and it shows up like this: A because of B, where B is the same as A. No, that don't work. Or you can use a subscript, a question begging epithet. That's what you're giving me here, because that's using a strongly emotional language to force home an otherwise unsupported conclusion. Now, any white, Asian, black, Hispanic, learned professor of any kind of education knows that I am telling the truth. And they would ask me, why are you going back and forth? Because our people, our tribe, needs to know that there are some elders still alive in the tribe. And I'm not going to let nobody accuse me of being highfalutin if you don't even know how to define it. Melvin, I don't know what your specialist was in college, but mine was a thinking thing. Who was it? I think it was it Rene Descartes or Socrates? To thine own self be true. Know yourself, because if you don't know yourself, you're going to lose it. All right. Melvin says, wait a minute. Melvin says, I am a collector of theology books, pro and con, God's words, truth. Then Melvin says, you said Jesus never condemned homosexual. Your statement using that standard, Jesus never concerned pedophilia. Okay. Why are you mentioning pedophilia? Xerix comes back. Right. He keeps doing it because he's just trying to find me wrong on something. That's why I don't debate with people. I don't debate with him. I say, what's your motive? One time, I was teaching philosophy 1, and UCLA had a lecture, and my friend Dan Majors followed after his mentor and studied philosophy and is still teaching philosophy, so far as I know. And Dan was debating whether God is real. And so I told my philosophy 1 class, for this next assignment, you have to attend UCLA, and I give you extra credit if you attend the lecture. And Dan, along with all the other people on the panel, was saying that there is no God and all of that. And there was one woman stood up and said, there is no God. She was a professor of philosophy. And she said, there is no God because I said so. Well, I got up to respond to the woman. That's all I wanted to do because my students were looking at me and they said, Professor Coleman, are you going to say anything? She said, yeah, give it a minute. Let them do their thing. And I got up and I said, you said there is no God because you said so. And she said, that's correct. And I said, and why should we believe a brain like yours? And the woman got offended. And I said, please don't get offended. Well, that was just one example. Wait, what time is it? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to stop at 2 hours. I don't want to go over that. What did you mean, Xerix, by Cyrus SP22? I don't get it. Oh, wait a minute. I should have read it before. Why are you mentioning pedophilia? What's the connection? Be real, Melvin. I wish I, had the picture with you when you were speaking. Yeah, right. It would have been interesting. But, okay. And then you answer again. And Melvin says, Xerix, you don't understand parody. No, this is just going back and forth. It's going nowhere. It's going nowhere because you know what? I believe that all of us are absolutely lovers of each other, and we can end this conversation on a better note. I think that I'll rest my case right now because I think that I've had a great time this afternoon. And this is a way to spend your Friday evening. And this is going to go up immediately on Facebook. And then I'm going to attach it to my website. And I will also attach it to my Facebook page. And so as many people all around the world can listen to it. I love you guys. I want to thank you for tuning in. Xerix said it. You said it. Oh, Xerix, I love you. That's why I said I might have been jesting. Yes. I let me end it up on a note like this. What makes the conversation so important is that, and Melvin, and I'm speaking to you because I love you. If you think I'm avoiding answering the question, I am answering the question, but I'm answering the question with a thinking mind. I'm not a robot. How can I say it? If I answered these questions in any other way but this, you would not have believed me. I will never say I don't know unless I don't know. Like, I don't know how the streets of heaven would be paved of gold. That's in the book of Revelation in the New Testament, right? Now, that's a strong argument. Oh, yeah, man, whatever I do, I want to go to heaven. Why? Because the street's going to be paved with gold. Really? And what does that mean? I'm going to get me some of that. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, you see what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. So, with that, thank you for a wonderful time. Yes, Xerix, I love Melvin too. And holler at him, call him up. Let's have another one. Anytime you want to have a discussion about what something means in the Bible, I've studied it. I got my books here. I got the brown book right here in front of me, like I showed you before. And I study this. Not as much as I did when I was pastoring because I'm retired. And I know on whom I believe. And I know that he's able to keep that which I've committed to him against that day. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I love you.